Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 22nd, 2014 Board of Wareham Housing Authority meeting at Agawam Village. I'd ask that before we start the meeting that anyone with a electronic device put it on silence, and here's my phone. And that I'd like to ask Mr. Santos to make a motion that this meeting is being filmed by Wareham Cable TV at the request of the authority.
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of Mr. White to take this meeting and give him permission from the authority to do so.
Second, do I have a second?
Yes, for discussion.
Discussion, all in favor? So
Aye.
carried. I'd like to thank resident Barbara for helping us out with the minutes, taking minutes for us. I think, since we don't have a recording device, it's effective since Jackie is participating in the meeting and busy as the secretary. It's hard to take minutes at the same time as doing all that stuff. Although you take notes, and then together you collaborate, and we'll get a more speedy draft copy of the minutes, so.
And just as you say that, I've kind of missed the first item.
The first item was a motion by Mr.
Okay.
Santos to recognize that at the board's request, Wareham Cable Television is recording the minutes. Okay. Recognizing a quorum of myself, Mr. Santos, and Mr. Lockwood to call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes of December 11, 2013, which I hope, unfortunately due to the holiday Monday and the snowstorm, that you might have received it in the mail. With the intention was that you would have it at least by Tuesday. So if not, we'll take a moment. When you're ready, you can tell me if you're ready to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Having read the minutes prior, I would make a motion to accept the minutes of December 11, 2013.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? So carried 3-0-0. Next item is the December 18, 2013 minutes.
Motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried 3-0-0. I'd comment that in the recent couple of days, we've tried to verify and confirm that for whatever reason, minutes haven't been properly certified by the officer of the Wareham Housing Authority and been sent up to the town hall. Jackie has taken the opportunity to confirm that with the town clerk. She's rectified that by getting copies of all the minutes since July. So as far as we're concerned, since the beginning of this fiscal year, we will be up to speed in terms of adherence with the bylaws and the state open meeting law, and providing copies of all the certified minutes with the town clerk, and we'll have an official file in the office as opposed to the way things were in the past. Any further comment on that? Oh, okay, next item on the agenda is this: authorize and approve the signing of bills and documents that Jackie may have with her that we'll sign at the end of the meeting after we adjourn and we review them for signature, as per the way the selectmen do it. Okay, they're not, we don't have them yet, she's got them in the folder, right?
Oh,
All right, so down at the,
You get the vote now, and then we sign at the end.
authorizes, so at the end it says signing of documents.
You know,
so moved, authorization.
All right.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, so carried, 300. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Lockwood, the chairman of our infrastructure committee, to bring us up to speed on the latest relative to DHCD and the various architects from the state and the private, in terms of the capital improvements for those buildings that we want to proceed on as fast as we can. Bill?
I've had an email exchange with Nault Architects to the effect of establishing that we're going to renovate Building 2, and the 2 easterly units of that building will be identified as and made handicap accessible. And we will be, the other piece of business was that we would increase the proposed roof insulation to an R38. And that should be I believe that was the nature of the results of the discussions with them. And that I would be the spokesman for this committee.
Thank you. Any discussion? Accept the motion to accept the Phil Lockwood's report on infrastructure.
Oh, except, make a,
Do I have a second?
Oh.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion, all in favor?
aye.
So carried, 300. Next up, I'd like to skip and go to the administrative report.
First thing on my report is the status of the change order for the heat and hot water replacement at Redwood. The contractor sent the final invoice. There was an additional change order that we were not aware of. This new committee was not aware of, for $5,500. I spoke to both Bill Miller and Gordon Ewan, who is the project manager and then the supervisor of the project manager, and they are in the process of getting all the documents. We have to sign the document, and then they sign the documents. They send the money to Wareham Housing Authority, and then we write the checks to the contractor, much like other DHCD projects. So that's where we are right now.
On that item, that's like, as you said, that's a surprise to us.
Yep.
I was aware of, and I think most of the residents were, maybe Rudy, on the cusp of his joining, there was a $15,000 change order that we were advised to sign, or else we owned the problem if it wasn't fixed. So
Right,
under that pressure, we did sign it. So now there's a second one in front of that.
There's actually, the $5,500 one was before the $15,000 one.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, and I could have explained it better, but I didn't, and I'm sorry about that. So, I do have, I did not make copies to the board, but I can pass them around. It's all of the recent communication that I have with DHCD, along with the initial, from Araujo Brothers, their final invoice. So, they are, you can.
And what is the nature of the $5,500 change order?
order?
And I'm assuming that's positive, that they want more money rather than less.
Yes.
Okay.
I have not even been able to say what the change order was. It's right there in the documents. I just knew that, I just found this out like an hour and a half ago. And then they called me, and I was on the phone with them for an hour and a half, so I have not been able to look at that document. And I didn't know if you were aware of it or were not aware of it. So that's.
So,
And
as far as you know, from the conversation, is the $5,500 item been completed and
Yes.
done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, so it looks like we're paying $1,100 per water supply valve. 5 buildings, $5,500.
Yeah, that
something
was
to-
when they, correct. Yes, I think that was their fix.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
And
they
it's been
didn't-
authorized by our engineers.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Roll.
Yeah,
Goodrow.
Goodrow.
Goodrow, yeah.
Actually, in September 10th,
Correct,
last year, 2 years ago.
correct. I mean, I'm
2012.
sorry.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Okay.
correct, Correct.
Are they still asking for the money?
Oh, yeah.
Or they haven't written off their taxes yet?
That's before us.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with their taxes. I know that they're
And
now,
I'm not,
they feel that they've done what we've asked them to do, along with, let me also include, that we have decided that we're gonna keep a log, for temperatures in the buildings, inside the units. Go in and take the water temperatures ourselves, not go downstairs, because we wanna get a
True reading.
true reading in order to go, unfortunately, to go back to the state to show them this is what we're dealing with. But I wanna say in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten very few calls, not, maybe one out of, I mean, we were getting them when I started every other day,
Yep.
and there had been numerous of them before that. Now, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've only gotten one. So he has, John Gov, our maintenance guy, has gone over and he has worked that system and to each unique building to make sure that the tenants have, you know, they had a system where that hot water was on and it would run and run and run. And so they were used to having a significant amount more. And then when the state did their review of what the building needed, with the engineer and architect's findings, they made the water tanks very smaller, much smaller. And that's what caused some of the flow and temperatures to be off.
Inadequate hot water supply.
Inadequate hot water supply, yes.
You said Agawam Village, did you
No,
mean
And then
Agawam?
Redwood.
Redwood.
And
I
then
see.
Redwood.
Okay.
Let me just comment on this for the 15th time. This is an unfortunate situation. In August of 12, that Redwood upgrade for the heating system and the plumbing and hot water tanks were supposed to be up and running. And for whatever reason, again, because of lack of oversight by DHCD, not just the authority, although the authority bears some blame for that prior administration. The residents suffered from inadequate supply of hot water. It rained cold. Sometimes it came cold to begin with. Sometimes it rained cold pretty quick. If there were more than 1 or 2 people using it, it ran cold. They had, I think, Bill, when you first joined, we talked about this. A 45 gallon tank for 4 or 8 units. It's just absurd. We heard the guy speaking about the building of units and infrastructure and dormitories at the Bridgewater State University. I'm sure whoever built that hot water system made sure that those students, athletes, and whoever was coming in to take showers could take showers, and there was plenty of hot water. So this mom and pop operation that we get relegated to is totally unacceptable, and we shouldn't have been treated like that, and the residents shouldn't have been treated like that. So it's about time that this gets resolved, and hopefully, now that Jackie's here, she'll stay on top of this, and it'll get resolved to the end. Personally, I think this taking temperature, going into everybody's units and taking temperature of the hot water is total nonsense.
It
But
is.
we'll have to deal with that, because that's what the big wigs in Boston have indicated will be the solution, or the process.
And plus, it gives us a leg to stand on, I think, and when we go back to them and we say, this is what we found over and over and over again. You know, So,
What is the regs for water temperature for the state?
I do not have that information.
Maybe we need
But
to
yeah,
find that
we
out.
do- We do,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a health code thing or
Yeah.
a building code thing, but we could,
okay.
I'm sure Mr. Giroux,
I
or whatever his
actually-
name is.
Be somewhere between the health code and the plumbing code.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
So we
actually
should find
seen
that
it.
out.
I
They
don't
should
know
know.
off
Yeah,
the
okay.
top of my head, but I have seen it.
find that out.
But the correspondence I've read, notwithstanding all the complaints that we wrote, was that they did some kind of statistical sampling of, ages of people and how much demand they should be expecting because of their age and the size of the unit and all this other stuff. It doesn't change, I mean, you got 4 or 5 kids in a dormitory room, and there's gotta be hot water for them all. But anyway, I just want to let you know that this has been an ongoing situation. It's been unacceptable, and we're still dealing with the remnants of the past. But I was going to ask you if you could look through our, to good records and accounting system that has been maintained, and maybe we could follow up on that $5,500 bill, maybe it's been paid. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay.
But conversely, we may want to see what actually was in the contract documents to find out whether we already owned what we're being
Right.
asked to pay for.
The original contract.
It's a change order, so it definitely would not be in the original contract.
Okay, and it's been signed for the engineer, so I'm going to take that as
Yeah.
that they're a professional reference on this.
The generators are currently up and installed and inspected and up and running in both Redwood and Agawam, and we have not received a final bill. Those people, FD Jones has been diligent to come over, and it is being, they're cycled through each week. The generator is cycled through once a week to make sure it's up and running, and it sends a warning if it's not. They do, is 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, roughly 9 o'clock, you know, so.
I'd like to interject something, Mr. Chairman.
So,
I'd like to, at this point, to thank Cedar, if it's
Yes.
possible,
oh,
Yes,
absolutely, yeah.
absolutely, yes.
for giving us or allowing us to have the money to fix, to install these generators and buy them. So again, I'd like to thank Cedar very much.
Definitely.
Excuse me.
Very good. And following up on that, after we had the ceremony here, receiving the mock check of $15,000, we did, and we hope that both the CEDA Board and the Board of Selectmen received letters from this authority thanking them
They did.
for that. So, I mean, and sometimes things like that fall through the cracks, but in case they did, we apologize, but
They sent
we
it.
do thank the town for that upgrade, and we look forward to working with the town on other potential upgrades to the long overdue infrastructure needs of the authority, whether it's the plumbing, the roofs, and the fencing, or whatever else we can do. Okay, next one.
The sewage, we have one pump house in Redwood. We do not have a pump house in Agawam, as they removed it during the last phase 2 of the town's upgrades. So the pump house needs a year, I'm recommending to the board and would like your feedback on getting a yearly maintenance. I spoke to Guy Campino, who is the wastewater treatment facility director, and he said that the town of Wareham will provide. We pay at cost, we just pay what they would pay, and it would be at cost labor and the direct cost and the indirect costs of performing those duties on a year-to-year basis, which would help us make sure that that pump facility over in Redwood, it maintains exactly what it's supposed to be doing, and we get a heads up if there is an issue coming down the road. So,
That being said,
Do they, I'm sorry, yeah,
yeah, well,
I have a question. Do they do that with town forces, or do they subcontract that?
nope, they do it with town forces, they have their own men that do that, they have their own pump houses, so it'll just be within their own cycle.
Okay.
okay, that being said, I'll ask for a motion to authorize the administrator to prepare a document for my signature indicating that we want to enter into an annual maintenance arrangement with the town sewer department.
So moved. I'll make the motion.
Okay, do I
Second.
have a second?
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
300.
For the water issue that was here in November, we have not received Joe Barbosa's bill yet. I'm going to place a call to him before the end of the week. We do have $62,000 in emergency modification money, and I verified that today with the state, and told them we did have about $12,000 of it already spent, and we will be submitting it very shortly, and they said, okay, no problem, give us a call when you're ready to do this, and we will. So that's where I stand with that.
Jackie, for the tenants, if I may, Mr. Chairman, knowledge, could you just explain a little bit about the remodification?
The emergency?
Yeah, emergency,
Okay.
just a little bit, so it,
New to me too, we have there's a set amount of money on our capital improvement projects that is considered emergency situations. So when the water main break, the pipes freeze, needs to be, that's the money that we can dip into from the state to use for that. for those kind of projects. So during November, actually, I think it started in September of 2013, the leak was noticed. We then started to do a fix. All of that money will not come out of our regular administrative budget, it will come from the emergency modification budget.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay,
In that same vein, is there any options or any other capital items that we can apply for, even though deadlines have passed? Whether it's emergency mod or formula funding, I know they
Well,
sent
we-
out
we-
something with deadline in
yes.
September or whatever. But
we, invoking the sign, any other business not reasonably anticipated 40 hours prior, I'd like to talk about this, but can we
All
wait
right,
till
yeah, yeah,
afterwards?
all right.
And we'll talk about the other grant
All right.
applications
Fine.
along with all of that at the same time.
All right.
Because there is one other emergency, it's not imperative, but it is an emergency. In November of 2012, there were inspections by the inspection department of the town of Wareham for the licenses to have community spaces, both here at Agawam and here in Redwood, to have the emergency lighting hardwired battery backup installed. So we had received one quote. I've tried to contact that gentleman and he's either too busy, and I requested FD Jones, who's doing the work here for the generator, to give us a quote as well. And I'm going to take that money from our emergency modification as well. It's roughly, I think it was under $1,500 for both units to have done, including the parts. So it's not really a lot of money, but I think that could come under the emergency modification and not come from our administrative
Is that
budget.
a safety issue too?
That's a safety issue. We need to get that because we need to have permits to have people in here, and we need to get that done. So I request, because we need the occupancy permit, that we move on that immediately. And if I can't get, we'll continue to find somebody, I'll call other electricians and get them to come in here.
My comment on that would be that there must be some local electricians. I know
All local
Jones,
electricians.
whatever
Yeah.
his name is,
He's
Jones,
on
they're not
Mattapoisett.
local, but there must be some local electricians we can get in our loop as to who we can call
Sure.
as needed, so that we provide.
The first one I did
The
try to
local
contact
economy.
was a local one. He lived in
Okay.
East Wareham, and he has not responded. I've called a couple times. He said, yeah, I'll be here, but now it's been a month, and we need to,
Well, then, there must be some others.
okay, I will.
Yeah.
Like we do try to house Wareham residents first.
The Wareham
Take care of
preference.
Wareham
Sure, yep, local
businesses
preference,
first.
yep. Okay,
Okay, so we'll move on that.
when we talk about this.
When we get
Okay.
into that.
Mr. Chairman, may I readdress what you just
Sure.
talked, if I may, Wareham residents? I'd just like to make a little comment, if it's possible.
Sure.
We have a number of minority contractors in Wareham. Make a concerted effort to try and get a hold of some of the minority contractors, if possible. If possible.
Oh, that's-
I know you have, we
Yeah.
have, but I'm just,
Definitely, I will do,
I know you.
Maybe when we get to that, we can develop a policy. We should go with a policy that we do with small, minority, women-owned, local, small business enterprises,
we can.
whether plumbing, heating, electrical, whatever you wanna call it. Those should be we should develop a log of those individuals so that we can
yeah.
contact them on a rotating basis or contact them on an individual bid basis. I mean, I should, just like the town does when they have people hauling cars for
Thank you.
accidents, they do it. So that's it. We'll bring that up,
Yeah,
unless you wanna make that as a policy now, you wanna vote
No, we'll
that as
do
a
it.
policy. All right,
We'll do it.
okay, so that's another policy.
Another issue we gotta deal with,
Yeah. Contract.
yeah.
Okay, Jackie, go ahead, next one.
The snow removal, I wanted to bring you update. We have had 4 snow events that have needed snow removal. 2 12 inches plus, 2 below, 2 6 inches and below. We have had, we have our 2 to 3 maintenance men that participate, and then we have 3 to 4 shovelers that participate as well. So we've developed a really good, I'm really proud of these guys. They have worked tirelessly and hard. It is freezing cold, and our residents are so good to them. The men will come back to me and say, so-and-so in this unit gave me a cup of hot chocolate. They gave me cold drinks, water. They talk to them. Thank you. They're very, very thankful. So thank you to our residents for being patient with us. And also, I just want to commend our guys because they've worked very, very hard.
I'll second that.
Thank you all, thank you. In that vein, could we invest a small amount of money in a decent-sized coffee pot and have it here with coffee, milk in the refrigerator, so these guys can come in and take a break and help themselves to a hot cup of coffee?
Sure. I did buy them coffee today, and these
Yeah, but you bought individual
we
cups.
did buy individual cups,
Yeah,
but
so that'll make it a lot easier. They know this is where they hang their hats, so if we had a pot there, if there's a kitchen, they ought to be able to put it up in the morning of a snowstorm and have a 20-cup container or whatever. All right, so
yep.
do we need to vote that? No.
Okay. No, I'll
It's a
invest in that.
humanistic thing to do.
We
Yeah.
can do
It's a
that.
$20 investment.
And you can put a few tea bags there and hot water and a cup of hot chocolate too if you want.
Okay.
All right. And you help yourself also. Did you get the shovels we voted at the last meeting for the residents so they can, the Christmas, that was their Christmas gift?
I must have not wrote that down in
We
our
voted to
last
buy shovels with ribbons on them for you for Christmas, so. All right. You don't have to put that in the minutes.
No.
Moving on from
But
our
it's up beyond TV, Bob.
structures.
Oh, that's good.
in our buildings. Moving to some of our
found.
administrative duties. One of the ones Bob already talked about is the meeting minutes. We had 7 meeting minutes that have not been submitted to date to the town clerk. They are being submitted as we speak, so they will be put online, so people can go and check them out afterwards.
Have they all been approved?
They have all been
Yeah,
approved.
I
These all
signed
approved. Bob.
They're all approved. I signed them yesterday certifying that they were true copy and test.
Yep.
That's it.
The wait list, I'm recommending before the board that we have the ability through DHCD to freeze incoming applications at this point in time, not for a period, my own self is 6 months, to actually update our list. DHCD's recommendations for an updated list is every 3 years. I do not know. We have a substantial amount of applications, and both the hard copies and the computer copy lists need to have work done on them so we can come to a true, or somewhere close to a true noting of how many applications we do have. We do separate the Wareham residents elderly handicapped from the Wareham residents family, non-Wareham resident elderly handicapped, and veterans and non-resident families. We have a substantial amount of applications, and I actually thought I have started a list because I felt that it was important that DHCD really understand how many people we get called. From January 13th, I think we had 20 calls for applications, 23 calls. 3 of those were for homeless emergency people, or as they told us they were homeless. And I just felt that in order for us to get a better control over it, we need to do this.
So are you,
We owe it to our residents to do this.
are you looking for this vote to,
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, just to add to this, when I came on in April, I asked a lot of questions, and basically what Jackie's saying is there is no comprehensive official record of applications. There was a log that was out of date. There was stacks of applications that were received that had not yet been put into the log. So what Jackie is saying is that to get a handle on this, so many of these wait list applicants go back so far, is to freeze the process. because trying to go back and rectify it would be a nightmare, and freeze the process and go forward, and Jackie has initiated a conversation with DHCD as to how to do that following the regs. So I think what she's requesting is a worthwhile thing, so with that, I'll take a motion to follow the administrator's recommendation to freeze the wait list.
Motion?
Okay.
Second it.
Any further discussion?
For
All in favor?
for discussion.
Go ahead.
I gathered there was a difference between the computer list and paper lists.
Yes.
And I guess I'm not sure why there is, or
Well-
what that difference.
Lack of input,
Okay,
you know.
that would be my first guess, but,
And so there was, both are wrong, even though there's a difference, they're both wrong, because there's also a stack of applications that,
which haven't gone to
which
any
haven't been
place.
processed, right.
Yeah.
I mean, and in all honesty, I mean, in the computer list, our problem is that lack of training. So we have a system that we could take a person when they did get to the list and they are a resident, off of the waiting list in the computer itself, and they would automatically become a tenant. We just identify where they're going, what unit they're in.
Yeah,
And for whatever reason, some of that has not taken place. So that's one of the things that need to be rectified.
okay.
Then we have a hard copy, which to me, when you start in a situation, that's the most visible thing that I could see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gotten used to both systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that, you know, we needed one way of doing it the correct way.
Yep.
And in this way, it'll allow us to weed out people that have already got places elsewhere, people that are still in the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a good comprehensive list of how many, I can give them, I don't say we have 1,100 applications, because we don't. We do have 1,100 applications sitting in a drawer, but they may or may not be, you know, because no one calls. You have to call them every 3 years. We haven't placed them to say, are you still interested? Because sometimes people do call us, and we say, yep, you're still there, you know, and, yep.
Is there any sort of policy for renewing yourself on the list? Do we have an official policy
What
in that?
happens is when you put in an application, you then, you receive a letter with a control number. And all of ours have a control number. All of our applications, even the ones sitting in a pile, they do have a control number and they've been logged in.
Okay,
So that control number becomes like your key to where you are.
Mhm.
You know, it identifies the date that you're in, and, you
Mhm.
know, so that's,
That's what we do on a 3-year basis.
we are
Call
supposed to
those people,
verify
You got that on the-
everybody on your
That they
list.
still wanna be on the list.
okay, but that's on a 3-year cycle?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I guess I would like to know how long we intend to freeze it and.
6
and-
months.
6 months.
Yep.
And do we intend to phase out the paper?
We can never phase out the paperwork. What
Well,
we
not,
did-
you can't phase out paperwork, but you can phase out paper
Paper
lists.
system, you mean?
A paper system that's a duplicate system to a computer system. Whereas you can print out on paper anything
No,
that exists in the computer.
I'm sorry, let me,
And maybe
I
I'm-
absolutely understand where you're going with that, but
Mhm.
no, only because that, it still has all the signatures that we need from the tenant. It has
No, those are the
Oh.
applications.
We'll
Right.
keep the paper
Oh, okay.
applications.
Those are
These
paper
we-
applications. What I'm saying is, and maybe I misunderstood what you're saying, Jackie.
Okay.
They're, in my mind, if you have, carrying 2 lists with the same information, one of them's going to be wrong.
Well, absolutely,
Shouldn't be.
yes,
Well,
yes. We shouldn't have two.
It's inevitable.
Right,
Yeah.
And if you will have one computer database,
yep,
and that is correct, at any
Yes.
time you wish to have a paper, a piece of paper to read it from, you simply print it out.
So I think what you're saying is,
Yeah,
there'll be
yes.
a master original file on electronic.
yes, exactly, and
Computer.
that's what that's
The
exactly, yes.
backup supporting dodocumentation of the
Are the
applications
paper applications,
will
which
be
you have,
in the file.
yeah.
Absolutely,
Right.
yes,
Okay.
we're trying to get
Well,
rid
that's
of
what
the
we wanna-
hand.
We wanna
And
get.
so, so there's nothing in between those two?
Absolutely.
No, there used to be
That-
all-
That's exactly what my goal is,
Okay,
to
good.
attain, that we have we have integrity in our wait list.
Mhm.
Because I think that not only within our community here of Agawam and Redwood, but outside of our community, I think that's a very big issue, and we're trying to attain that. And because we have, I mean, like when I said from January 13th to today, we have 23 requests for applications.
Okay.
And that's that's just from the 13th till today.
Right.
So we have, I mean, and Bob and Rudy can attest to being in the office and the phone call after phone call.
Okay.
So if we have a mechanism to just put everything on hold for 6 months, get one integral system, knowing how it is, we can move forward.
Yeah, in the old days, 40 years ago, they had the hardbound book like this. You went to the bookstore, bought that, and it all was done by hand. So
Sure.
they still had that, and they were up maintaining it for,
Okay,
and it became a
yeah,
duplicitous, inaccurate, unreliable system.
yeah.
And
Got
we
it.
do have a reliable system. We have a wonderful system called Public Housing Assistance, which is their name of their software, and it works wonders. It does
Okay.
our work for us.
Good.
We need training, and we need to, and we're
Hey.
gonna get that.
So if I may, you're just looking for this vote to authorize you to have a 6 months.
Right,
Free
we have to-
moratorium.
Right, we have to request it from DHCD, and once we request it from
You-
DHCD, and the board, there'll be a board vote along with a letter saying that. So you're aware of it, we're aware of it, and they are aware of it too.
Thank you for reminding me. I forgot we had a vote on the table. So the motion was made and seconded. That was the discussion.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
300 to go ahead with DHCD and request a waiver, and we get the paperwork ready, and I'll sign it, et cetera, and so forth. You're getting all this, right? Ms.
Hope so.
Scribe?
Okay, vacant units. We have four vacant units and technically vacant units here in Agawam. We have 2 technically vacant units in Redwood. The 4 vacant units in Wareham, 2 are already in the process of being leased out. The units have been cleaned, repainted, repaired as necessary, and are waiting to have tenants. We have 2 tenants in line. They both have accepted, they were on the top of the line, and they both have accepted in. One is coming, they both will be here February 1st, so those 2 units will be filled. The other 2 vacant units, we are having some major work on building 2, as we know. 2 units are gonna be displaced, and so we are saving those, for those 2 tenants. Okay?
As a result of
As a result of the-
handicap
Right.
units that'll be put in place, hopefully by the end of June.
So making it clear for me is that you're gonna take 2 and put them into the new
Yeah,
renovations,
renovations, yeah.
and then you'll renovate the handicaps.
Those 2 are gonna be
Okay.
renovated by DHCD,
Yeah.
along with all of the building. Okay, so we'll get to that. I don't wanna get, because that's
Okay,
included
that's
in
clear,
this.
okay.
Yeah.
So, just for clarification, as the big picture here is that vacant units is a bad situation. Not only because the housing authority loses revenue, which affects our budget, which affects our ability to spend money to continue to provide services, but it also deprives
People,
eligible Wareham residents of safe, decent housing that we should have full occupancy at all times. And once we get up and running, and we're better, more trusted by everybody in the world that looks to us, and we can provide leadership, we look to be able to find additional ways of providing more housing in Wareham.
We have 2 eligible units in Redwood. Both are we're being worked on right now. They're not ready, they will not be ready for March, they will be ready for March 1st, okay? Both of those units, 1 unit, a tenant, one particularly, we have 2 people on a medical list that have had medical reasons to be moved from an upstairs apartment to a downstairs apartment. So we have 1 woman that will be moving into one of those units because they're a downstairs apartment. And potentially within the next month or so, we will be losing another tenant to an upstairs apartment. So we'll have another one coming down the pipe. So that's where we are with empty vacant units.
Thank you. Next on your.
Okay. The tenant accounts receivable. To date, we have four tenants that are seriously delinquent. 3 have made arrangements with our office to date. We're still working on the number 4. I expect to have a meeting with that tenant very shortly, and we will have a meeting with them and get that rectified as well.
Good.
Okay.
How much is the amount? When you say
Oh, I don't have them.
serious, is it like?
I want to say more than $2,000 a piece,
And it's-
each
and
one.
it's
Maybe
more
one
than-
now is below,
It's
so,
more than 60 days overdue.
absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause that's represent for each, I mean, each tenant around 2,000, we're roughly talking 4 to 6 months based on what their rent was, and
Yeah.
they're all different rents, so basically that's an average. But I can get you an
No, no,
exact
no, no.
number.
In the future, some of these items should be like standard items in your administrator's report.
Sure.
Tenants accounts receivable,
And you want
total.
it, okay,
average-
all right, sure.
What do you call it? The aging and, 10 people owe $10,000 and average
Okay,
1,000
sure.
each.
No problem, I'm
So
sorry, yep.
if it's current 30 days,
No,
no
no,
problem. But
right.
it's, when it gets delinquent to the point that it's affecting, again, revenue, then we need to implement actions as you have to get agreements with them to pay.
Okay, the FY14 budget with the state, I have contacted Kim Gomez, who is our liaison to DHCD, and they have not approved it yet. So we are waiting to work out what the reasons are, which I don't know, and we will move forward. I mean, we've had some contact with her, so we're just trying to get a little bit more detail before we go further.
But one of the things I would add is that, as you recall, when we went up to the selectmen in a week or so ago and talked to them overall, big picture, we indicated that the Wareham Housing Authority operated fiscal 2013 without an approved budget. From what I understand, the budget numbers for the fiscal year for the 667 and the the 667 and the MRVP, that's the rental voucher system, as well as the Section 8 federal that terminated that this June 30th. They were all supplied to them. There was a difficulty in terms of obtaining signatures of the then Board of Directors, which is now a fait accompli. It's now 7 months after that fiscal year. There's no way we can get the signatures. So Jackie and I are gonna put a letter together indicating that it's time to move forward and not hold us harmless going forward, because the fact that they didn't have an approved budget is of no significance now. They have an actual fiscal year, June 30th, 2013, actual figures that they can use as a basis for the budget we submitted, which is what we did. So hopefully, and we signed all the proper certifications that the board and the director has to sign, or the administrator. So hopefully they will stop living in the past and get on with it, so we can have an approved budget and begin to get subsidies before the end of the year. We're all heading into February, and part of our operation depends on about a $75,000 state subsidy, so it's essential that we get this approved and we start getting half of that now. All right, thank you.
We had an administrative issue with our computer. One of our computers crashed. And we have spent a little bit of time, and both the fee accountant, myself, and a company called PC House Calls, where they come to your location. We do not have a network and a network administrator that would help us with our computer, so the computer that was there, speaking to the previous Kate Luna, she had already indicated to me that this computer was really not working There were files in there that we were not allowed to get into. There were, just the way the computer saved documents was very difficult, and so once, I want to bring to your attention that the computer that was in there had not been shut off for months because it had, because no one had passwords to get into this information. We then, when I came on, we had a new check machine that we deposit our checks right into our account. That was an upgrade to that computer, along with the PHA had their own interior upgrades. So our computer needed some upgrading. Both of these people came in, they did the upgrades at the same day, within a couple of hours of each other. So they said, Jackie, close the computer at the end of the night, and you will, and one of the women from the bank stayed online with me, and she was in our computer from the other end. It's a PC share. And she said, do you realize you have 71 updates waiting? She could see our interior of our computer, and I said, no, I did not, because that machine had not been shut off for a long period of time. Once it was shut off, it's hardwired password. There was no way getting, Microsoft, it takes them a long, long time. So my first initial reaction was to try to get somebody in here for an hour or so, because I thought you could just go in and unlock the password and we'd be on our own. He said, he came in, he had said to me, Jackie, it'll take me a considerable amount of time in order to do this. It's going to cost you a new computer. So you can either go get a new computer and invest a little bit of money for upgrades, or you can have me unlock it. What would you have me do? And I spoke to Kate, I spoke to Tom Joy, our fee accountant, I spoke to Rudy, our board chair was in Belgium, and we decided that it would be better and a better efficient going forward in a new year, new Wareham Housing Authority, new computer, and we're just about through all of the upgrades and quirks, and we're in a really good spot.
You did a good job with that, Jackie. I applaud you.
Thank you.
You did.
I'm sure you did. Do we know how much data was left on the table?
Matter of
Or
fact,
under the table?
No. Well, matter of fact, when the man who did look at our data said, if you need me for anything, he said, I see that there's, I've helped other people, because I explained to him our situation, why we were where we were at to begin with. He said that he would help us with any legal matters. There was tons of data that came forward when he converted out of the old into the new, so I have it all, which I felt like a lot more, I felt much better about it, because I didn't know, it wasn't saving things correctly, and so it's better, I believe, for the Wareham Housing Authority, better to go in this direction.
So you have a handle on it?
Yes.
And you have the data?
Yes, we do have the data.
Okay.
You did purchase the computer?
We purchased the computer. And my last two items is, last Friday, I went to Dedham to a Housing Authority school for rental calculations, which was very, very enlightening. And I had always felt that we weren't as diligent as we possibly could be for everyone's sake on our rental calculations. And now that I've gone to the training and have the necessary information, I feel much confident, more confident that it will be more diligent. Wareham has a reputation, and one of the things is we're very generous, and we have a lot of people come from outside the community, which is really upsetting because we have a lot of need within our community, and we need to help the people here. And if we have a lending hand, we have to lend a hand outside. Some of it is out of our control, state mandated, but most of it we need to be more diligent. Like, we have people that have a friend of a friend who has an address in Wareham, and then all of a sudden they're Wareham residents when they're really not. And we want to make sure that we're servicing the people, the elderly people especially, the veteran and the elderly for our town, Wareham, and then the handicapped town of Wareham people. So, and that is a real, as everyone knows, I've been very diligent to really question people, and we have the ability, and the state wants us to use their tools, and I just don't, my opinion, from looking at our documents and dealing with both our Massachusetts rental voucher program and our elderly who want to get in, there are people here that really are not from our community. And we have people that have been on the list for 4 years that are in our community. So I'm a little, we're working out those problems, and we will continue, along with getting the wait list worked on, along with getting our tenant, when we have an intake consultation with our new tenants, that I have, these two other ladies are both Wareham residents, family in Wareham as well as themselves, and I feel we're confidently moving in the correct, going forward.
Can you bring us up on the number of MRVP units? I know
Okay.
we had an idea that we had somewhere around 40.
Just one more, I will,
Okay.
that's my next on my list, I have one
Oh,
more
okay.
thing. Along with this issue that we're gonna bring up for 48 hours and less, we have I have an opportunity that DHCD brought to my attention an hour ago. They want me to go to a class called the Capital Project Systems. And I thought it would be great for the board chair or one of the board members to come with me to that school, because this is our planning mechanism and how we plan out projects. As much as we have such a great need now, we do have money, so let's make sure that we're using it wisely and we use it timely. So
I
that's
saw some of that correspondence which told us about some of those
Right.
classes and
right.
programs.
So it is, there's one CPS that was just brought to me today. The closest one is gonna be in Brockton, and I'll bring it to the attention, and maybe one of the board members can come with me. And then MRVP, the Massachusetts Rental Voucher Program for the town of Wareham. There are 3 types of Massachusetts rental vouchers. There is project-based, which we have in Depot Crossing, which is the housing units on the corner of Great Neck Road, Minot Forest, right before Minot School, right there on that road. And recently, brought to our attention that we received a letter back in November of 2012. There was a letter sent from South Shore Housing, who owns that property, to DHCD, asking if out of our 32 MRVPs, 7 of them be moved out of Depot to Cranberry Manor, another South Shore Housing facility. So, unbeknownst to me, when I got here, we only had 24 and not 32. So we now will have 32 full vouchers going forward. I spoke to them. We sent them all the applications. They're getting us that, so we'll have 7 to 8 added more. 7 immediately, and then there'll be 1 more added in a further date. They had removed, there is a new program, it's called Section 8 project-based. And so the Section 8 federal monies will come into Depot. They'll transition people from Cranberry, from Depot into the Section 8 project-based. So that money's just coming from the federal government, from the state, because they can use the other state money over in their other housing facility. So we have 32 project-based MRVPs. We have 17 mobility-based. Mobility means you can take this and go anywhere in the state of Massachusetts. And we have 1 aid for handicapped persons, AHP, handicapped person.
AHP, yeah.
Yeah.
So we will manage that one mobility unit.
No, we manage 40,
won't
all
lose it.
40,
You're right.
we manage all 40 MRVPs.
Right.
Is that 40 or 50?
50.
Is it 50?
50.
It's 32 plus 17, yeah,
17 and 1 is
Yeah,
50.
sorry, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, so we will manage it, period.
we manage them,
All right,
yeah.
good.
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
What is the cost from them to us to manage that? How much do we,
No, they pay.
I mean, do we
pay
have,
us. Remember, I think when we presented the budget, we said there's like $490,000 a year comes to the town last year in subsidy to the landlords.
yeah,
I don't know how much the residents pay something else to the landlord, so let's assume it's 25%, so the 500,000, they get another 125, let's assume, so there's revenue coming to landlords in this town of 625,000, that's just off the top of my head, you can look at it more
Yeah.
accurately, but Does that answer your question?
No.
I think you want,
No.
I think it's 20, it's 5%, it's
Yeah.
20,000.
Oh,
That's
and then
our
opposite, yeah, and then, based on that, if, in the budget we looked at, I think there was
I forget.
$15,000 or something was our share for administration fee that we it comes into, to us.
Yes, to us.
That we use to allocate to our administrative costs. That's
Mhm.
why I was upset and concerned that we lost the
The
20
Section 8.
units of Section 8, because
Yeah.
that was it 20 units? I think
It was 19 units of
20, yeah,
Section 8.
19 or
Yeah.
20 units.
Yeah.
We lost $19,000
Yeah.
of additional
Fund,
operating
yeah.
revenue because of some decision made before June 30th of 2013 to
One
rid
other,
ourselves of those units.
one other issue, do we sign a contract with to manage these? I'm being facetious now.
Yeah, we do, we actually sign individual contracts.
Well, my question is it ever reviewed with whoever to raise from 5 to 7%? Or is it standard for
That's-
Statute.
That's a determination by the state,
Yeah.
by HUD,
Right.
whoever grants the
For
money.
money.
And they've been getting worse. HUD is getting worse on number of units, vouchers they give out, and how much they
Okay.
allow for administration fee. And that's why a lot of authorities are pulling them back and saying, we're not gonna let you do it, we're gonna do it
Right.
ourselves, because we don't wanna share
Yeah.
some of that money with you. It might be 25% administration fee, and they say, why should we give you 12%? We want it all, you know, that's why,
But these are all ours.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we will not be giving them to any host community, we will do them ourselves. Another requirement is an inspection. So
Yeah.
then we will I will be doing the inspections to these 40 units. I spoke to South Shore Housing, they're all set, we're gonna go in and do them in one or 2 days, get them all done, and then I'll start on our mobility ones and the other
Okay.
handicapped units, so.
Okay.
How many of them are out of town, of those 17? How many?
None. They are all
They,
in.
they are all in Wareham,
Yeah, they're all
even though
in.
they have the ability to
Yep.
Move,
go
yeah.
someplace.
Yeah, and we will express our interest in, with the state and anyone else, that we would be willing to host the administration of more units, because it's good for us to
Yeah.
bring in more and house more people, plus we
Mhm.
get a small fee for it.
And I have made a contact as well through Kate Luna. She helped us at this training I went to, because I said, how can we get back into hosting Section 8s? We do have a phone calls for them, and so she said, she gave me a contact. I haven't contacted him yet, but I am gonna make that reach out very soon, you know,
That's a
hopefully
good
within
thing.
the next week or so, because I just got the information this past Friday, so I'll be able to make a contact with him and report back to you where we stand with that. Even if we start just building up 1 or 2,
Right,
you know, 4 or 5, get some in here and do the right thing by them, so we can have more units available in Wareham.
If I may, I hope this is not a stupid question for
No.
me, but
No.
where our responsibility lies when we deal with Home Depot, the different projects that they have, the MRVs?
Responsibility does lie, we have an inspection report that we are we go in and we
Okay.
show up
Well,
for many purposes, to see that that person who signed our lease is the same person leasing.
yeah, okay.
And, you know, we have the majority issues there, and understandably so, because we don't have enough housing for the need we have.
Okay.
So we have people that say it's me and my mother, or me and my 3 little kids, and there's 6 kids and 3 adults living in there. So we need to make sure that we either get them a better unit for them to live in, you know, so they know that they can do that and not risk their housing. Or, you know, and we should, to make sure that the unit is acceptable and, you know,
Okay,
that
Habitable.
habitable, and that we've seen it.
Yeah.
And that's
so
exactly
that's
what
our lot of
happened.
responsibility
That's
is
completely
to
our
make sure
responsibility,
that
to make sure, yeah.
they're getting the right for,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Jackie, you said 32 project-based, 17 mobile, and 1
Handicap,
handicap. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack.
no problem.
Very good, thank you. Does that conclude your report?
There is, no, it does not, I'm sorry, and I need to add this to Section 8. I want to let you know that when I started, there were 2 open Section 8 issues on the docket. One was a woman who felt that we owed her a portion of a month rent. And I spoke to her about this, and she said she was gonna have her person who's in Section 8 call us, and they haven't, which means that, I believe my response to this woman was that Section 8, like MRVP, they don't give half month's rent. So her stipulation was that, this was a woman that her Section 8 was out of Taunton. Taunton gave me from the 18th to the 31st, and I was like, ma'am, how did Taunton only get a partial month reimbursement from Section 8? I mean, it's difficult to get, making sure that we get it from MRVP. HUD is that much more level of bureaucracy, so I didn't know, and she didn't know either, because she insisted that somehow Wareham was responsible for the first 17 days of that month, and I just said, we don't have the mechanism to pay you. We don't have the mechanism to receive that funding anymore. So she hasn't called back. She has called once before, and this time, so she's called twice, and I told her that Taunton wants to call me and I can investigate. That would be one issue. The other issue was a woman that, this is a man, it's in connection with a lawsuit that the town of Wareham is involved in with this woman, with the landlord and the Board of Health. So the lawsuit is against the Board of Health. And I'm not privy to complete what the lawsuit entails. The woman in November of 2012, she gave the notice to leave the property in December of 2013. So we had written a check to this gentleman out of the Section 8.
The tenant or the landlord?
The landlord.
The landlord.
The landlord, we wrote a check to his proper rent out of the Section 8 checking account. He never cashed that check. For fear that if he cashed it, he was accepting the rent. The letter that went with the rent said this is the last and final payment, because the woman had given her notice that she'd be out of the unit by December 31st. So, I'm speaking with the gentleman firsthand. He said, he said that she was out in January. She gave her notice for January, so we should have owed him 1 more month rent. The second time I spoke to the man, he came into the building, came into our office, he said, oh, she gave me a notice that she'd be out by December. And somehow, the unit was in very bad shape. Not very well taken care of, an extreme amount of trash that the Board of Health this is where their portion of it is involved. So I haven't really gotten all, my idea last Thursday when the gentleman came to me was that he really wants another month's rent, not for the rental portion of it, but to clean up after this woman's mess. And I'm not sure about what section, I don't believe that Section 8 allocates that money for that. It's for rent only. And she did give him proper notice, so I'm like, I'm not really sure. I said, we can definitely replicate the check that you never cashed and get you that paid, so we can get you paid for that amount of money. And I'm gonna try to pursue where this was with exactly when she left, what Section 8, the program Section 8 has. So I have to determine what host community that came from, of which I do not know.
When you say December, you mean 12?
12,
Before
December
us.
2012. Well, before
14
us.
months ago.
Yeah, 14 months ago. So he had a lawyer, and he was apparently at some point, the previous director, along with this tenant, did a walkthrough at her place, and somehow that all got, the landlord believed that because this person, this executive director was there, it was her, she's tied up in the responsibility. And there's a lawsuit against us and the town. So I need to place this in our attorney, Patricia Grace, who is the attorney for local housing authorities for the South Coast. I wanted your permission to call her and give her this information. I don't know if she's aware of this or not aware. I don't know. I don't have any documentation upon this. This is only this man's word for it, because we do not have any substantiating documentation.
Let me ask a question. Does Section 8 pay first and last?
No, and I don't understand
okay.
that. MRVP does not either.
Okay.
This
Do
is
they
where
pay a
we're running-
property deposit?
Different rules.
I'm sorry?
Do they pay a property deposit?
The landlord can request a deposit
Did
from
he?
the tenant, but we do not get involved in any Any security deposits or we'll pay the first month's rent when you move in, but that's
And
it.
the last month's
And the
rent.
last month's
That's
rent
right
when you
before
move
you
out.
leave out.
Yeah, but the landlord has the right to ask for a deposit. And, like, for instance, Depot Crossing, it's $1,000 deposit, period.
Mhm.
And that's what makes it difficult for some of our families, but we have mechanisms. There's Turning Point and Community Resource Network has gone, and they're willing to work with you. So what they do is say, you can come up with 300 or 400. What they do is they say, we'll let you in, and then each month we're gonna add $50 more till you reach your $1,000. And then at that time, you know, they get Christmas presents and birthday presents, and that money will, to the point where it's 1,000. So, but they do have a right to ask for it, but we do not participate
We do
in
not
that. That's
participate.
a obligation they have with their landlord.
Second question, have we been served
There's
as defendants
his
in the lawsuit?
copies, there's a letter stating that there's a lawsuit, but as far as served, I don't know if we were served or not, because we do not have any other documentation except what this man has provided at my request. He called up and said, I've got this lawsuit with you.
Does he have a certificate of service?
I don't know. I'll have to look and see if that is.
Yeah.
There is a letter. I mean, he
Oh, well-
hasn't gone further.
I write many letters.
No, I know. And maybe that's what it is too.
Um,
But I think that it would behoove us at this point in order to contact the attorney and see if she knows anything. She may already know of this case, you know, but I don't have any documentation beyond
So
what
you're
this
saying
man's
for the
provided.
interest of the, may I ask you?
Mm.
Of the Housing Authority, you want to get in touch with
Yes.
the
Yep.
attorney to clarify this, whether
Well,
she
just
knows
to
or whether.
advise it, whether it's-
Right.
Well, that's what I'm
I-
saying.
and because I don't
Potential
wanna,
situation.
I don't wanna hurt any future dealings with the Section 8 program. I wanna get back into hosting as fast as we can, and I don't want this to be a stumbling block.
This, like many other matters, is the result of previous mismanagement. When I came here and I first attended my first meeting in April, I said, how many units of housing do we have? I was told 104 elderly at Redwood and Agawam, 40 Section 8. And I said, is that all? 40 MRVP, is that all? Yes. Any Section 8? No. That was in April. Shortly thereafter, I got a visit from someone, or a call, who said, I'm losing my Section 8 unit, I have a Section 8 unit, and I said, with Wareham, I said, how can that be? I was told we don't. This lady visited me, showed me paperwork, documentation of a Section 8 application and a lease. So that would indicate that I was not told the provided accurate information. And Kate Luna was here and involved, and she knows I was aware of 2 other units where this housing authority was involved, where we, because of however they miscalculated the rent or paid the landlord, that we had a unit that was involved in the New York City Housing Authority and another unit with the Westmoreland, Pennsylvania, that we had 2, from what I was understood, and Kate was supposed to, the previous interim administrator was working on correcting, and apparently it may be corrected, but I know Taunton might have been one of the partially involved in this, so it may be the same one. But the bottom line that I understood, that we overpaid, we paid out of our administrative money, and we're owed about $4,800 or $2,400 for those 2 units, and I don't know if that's been resolved. I've been
I think that has
to
been
get that
resolved.
resolved.
I think that's been, Tom Joy
Okay.
indicated to me that he was working on getting that resolved.
Right, well, I'd like to.
Okay, so,
be
you know, and I will
assured that
definitely
that's
get,
resolved,
yeah,
and then go forward. Obviously, I'll ask for a vote to authorize the administrator to contact the DHCD legal rep for this area to advise them of this potential pending legal problem that deals with this unit. So at least we can bring them up to speed and give them whatever documentation we can have. And if, hopefully they're aware of it, and if they're not, then they can get involved in it.
actually, to bring this up too, I know the town is aware of their portion of this. The legal team from the town and I have talked about it. I mean, they didn't talk about their case, so I knew that they were served on their end.
Being
So-
the Board of Health.
The Board of Health, yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot, what Jackie said, there's a lot to it. There may be issues here, I'm not gonna prejudge it, but there may be, based on what she indicated, there may be serious indications that this was substandard housing, inadequate, and we can not, if there was any part owed, we won't owe it because the landlord was a slumlord. Then we don't have to, put up with that kind of thing. I'm not castigating, I don't know, I'm just saying that could be a possibility.
And I do have one happy note about MRVP that I'd like to share with you. We have been working diligently in the last month in order to be 100% compliant with our MRVP files. That means making sure there's a lease for each file, each tenant has a proper and updated lease, and that we have created systems in place as of this date that we work towards making sure that every month when a new lease is up, we are aware of it before. We've already sent out for March of 2014, so we're all set for that, and we've got a system in place. And we will be complete with the files probably within the next 4 weeks. It takes a little while. I decided that I was gonna make sure every file would be put in chronologically, date, chronologically order, how many years they've been in the MRVP system, and where they stand. So we have all substantiating documents, making sure we cover the Wareham Housing Authority's regulations and obligations to the state. So on that note, I'm very proud of that. So we're working towards that. As soon as we're done with MRVP, we're gonna go on and do our own tenant files. And from there, we'll then be in compliant in that issue, so.
Okay, thank you. With that.
Moving forward, may I make a motion
Yeah, on the legal?
on the legal aspect so we get
Oh,
through
I'm
that?
sorry.
That's fine. I'd like to make a motion to have the director get contact.
We don't use that word.
We don't use that
This is
word.
the future, that was the past.
Administrator. Contact our legal sources to clarify the
Thank
issue.
you.
Motion made, seconded, discussion, all in favor?
Okay.
3-0-0.
Okay, great.
Motion, accept the motion to accept the administrator's report.
So moved, with thanks for her extraordinary efforts in a short period of time.
Right, it's the first administrator's report I've seen here since April. Motion
Second.
made, seconded, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, on your list,
Yep.
items to vote on, I'd like to make ask for a motion to approve the training she went to and to approve the second training relative to capital projects that she go,
So moved.
Great.
Second.
Thank you.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
When
Is
is
there a
that,
cost associated with that, to the
Yes.
authority?
Yes.
Maybe should have
I
asked
don't
that
know
before,
yet.
but-
I don't know what the cost will be, but
Yeah.
they're generally between 100 and 175. And you're there for the whole day.
When is it?
I'm not sure. She just said it's in Brockton, and can you call Kathy Arnold? And she gave me the number to call, so I
At
will.
least it's not in Tewksbury.
Yeah. But they're all over the place.
Yeah, so we authorize the trip to the training and the related travel that goes with it. Motion made.
Yeah, I mean,
Voted on.
Well,
Right.
we did all that.
Was there another item on there?
No, we're all set with my director's report. And then we
No,
have
I
this
thought-
one
I
item
was
for the
wondering.
48 hours.
Yeah, but in terms of some of that stuff, I thought I was making notes about it. We'll take care of snow removal and yours. Any other items you mentioned that would require us to vote on, authorize?
I do not have anything.
All right. No, as you were going through, I was
Right.
trying to remember what we should,
I went through everything on my list.
right, but I'm
Do
trying
you
to
think there was maybe one more?
No, no
Okay.
more, but some of those that we should,
I do need a
Vote.
board vote on
Vote.
this. This
This
is,
is-
yep,
what is this?
and I just wanted to quickly review, not quickly, but this is, our funding that we get from, for our capital projects. You can see the first four are closed. Those are the ones that, they're listed there. The exterior upgrade of building one, the boiler replacement, soft cost, which is the architect and design, then the replacement cost, and then the parking lot lighting, flooring, and emergency lights and batteries that Kate Luna found for us, the $10,745.
Okay.
Those projects are completed
we
and
got that
closed
money.
out.
That was the
Yeah.
money we applied for
Yep.
late and then
Yep.
got it, good.
And then the next one down on the list, you can see the exterior upgrade for building 2, and the associated cost is $252,400. And then the ADA unit conversions, and I know that that's an inappropriate cost, I told them that, and they said, okay. Because if you look over,
You say that
on page
457 is too high?
yeah, on page 3, you'll see over here, the
But will they give
ADA,
it
I
to
mean, on
us?
page 2, I wish they could give us 457, because then we would just do, you know, we'd do another building,
Yeah,
but we are,
Almost
okay,
two.
yeah.
Build another one.
ADA unit conversion is gonna be 166. You'll see it on this second page right here. I'm sorry. These two,
Okay.
this, yeah, 160 and 60. The top price, the exterior for building 2 is gonna be 22,000 from the fiscal year 14 funds and the 229,460 from the fiscal year 15 funds. So that's gonna be done very shortly. And same with the ADA conversion, so those will be done in the summer, okay?
This year.
Yep, this year, this summer, this coming up. This July to August to September, we want it done and over with, we wanna move on. Then we have,
That's over, that's over $400,000.
because I think that's what happened is when you go in there, they put all of that, because they're attaching it to that building too. So that's the total amount of
Some
funding.
of it'll be going into fiscal 15.
It's just the
Most
fiscal
of it is.
15 funding.
Right, I
Right.
understand.
Right. The other thing, we came up, when we were reviewing these numbers, there was a $53,000 balance left over from they're allowing, they have a 3-year plan. This is from the first year that it was left over, and they want us to use the money, so,
And we want to use them all.
right.
To
So,
fix that plumbing in the
right,
crawl
we
space.
have the crawl space plumbing, they have their own schematic understanding of how much things are gonna cost. So they have like the type, they know what type, this was wonderful for me to look at because it showed all of the history of when things were in our buildings. Any work that's been done, it was just like and it's an IntelliGrants, which is, I love because that's what I come from, so I understand IntelliGrants. So this was just excellent for me to get to look at and see in detail, our buildings. So they have their own way of configuring out the money. So that's how much they said it was gonna cost. I was happy with it. So we have a couple more $1,000 left, which we can use once we get closer to getting this completed and we know hard costs. Whatever we left over, we're gonna find something else to do. And, cause they now know, I mean, I spoke to Gordon Ewan, Bill Miller, Beth Thompson, and, Bill Holland, who's our reps for these capital projects, the need here in Wareham. The abject, that no one would live, you know, with this, none of us, if we didn't have to, you know, so it's not acceptable, you know, so we're working towards that. And, that's the crawl space plumbing upgrades, which is going to happen right at the same time as the other building upgrades. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring to your attention exterior upgrade building 2, that 22,000 from fiscal year 14, that's the roof for building 1. So this 22, they said this was for, that's what they told me. I'm just passing this on. Whether or not it actually pans out that amount of money, and then the
the roof?
229,
The
yeah.
roof on building
Yeah.
1, at least it's allocated. They're
It's
gonna-
allocated, the 229 is building 2, the exterior upgrades, the 6 and the 160 are the ADA
ADA.
compliant, and that is including a whole interior upgrade. So they will be wheelchair compatible from top to bottom. And then the 211-906-97 and the 211-906-97 are the buildings 5 and then 4.
And then there'll be.
Then we'll go back to the 2016
What about-
bond that they said they renewed.
What about building 3 and this building? So far, we've done 1, 2,
We can
5,
actually,
and
we
4.
can go in and put a project in.
We need to do.
We actually can put a project in,
Right.
and we can do that. And then, get through this other project and then see what funding is, and then, I mean, I didn't know where we stood.
Well, one of the things I'd like to ask Bill and Rudy to do is look at, when this project was developed, the office was here. And they converted the unit and took it out of circulation, so I'd like you to, you know, give us, in your spare time, take a look at this back here, see if there's a way to build it out. We put the office back over here, and we could find another situation we can provide maintenance quarters for at least storage, and then they can have a place in here to come in and update, do their office work if they need be, but at least we can get another unit back
That's,
on our property
So-
without having to go out and find a
Right.
lot to get it from the
We,
town and
we
do
are
all that
not,
stuff.
right, we are not, the only projects we are now tied to right now are building 1 roof, building 2 upgrade, the underneath the plumbing,
Plumbing.
and the ADA compliant units.
The-
Other than that, these other 2, what I found out today is that we can go in and put a project in, and then they can just take those, they're called fish numbers, and we can reallocate them, okay? So, because this was done, these were done years ago. But we can then, I mean, that's where we could then look for, oh, I'm sorry, there is one more item. This is
Let
why,
me just finish
yeah.
before I lose my train of
Right.
thought. What I'd also like to do is ask, as we talked to the selection when we did, is that you coordinate with Ruby and Bill
okay,
in looking at all the projects that we can possibly think of, from stoops to
Yeah.
stairs to railings to windows to whatever, windows that fall down on people's fingers, and
Yeah.
come up with a ballpark and ask for, we can get a joint project with the CEDA,
yeah,
with the capital,
CPA, yeah,
what do you call it?
community
Community
preservation.
Preservation Act funds, and even Makepeace, because they have a
Yeah.
piece that they use for,
Yeah.
community preservation and community housing. So if we could do that, at least we can show the DHCD, we've reached out, we've
Yeah.
packaged money, and we're real and responsible, and we're trying to do the right thing. And if we can do that, we can get these units up and in shape sooner than waiting down
Right.
for 16, 17, 18,
Right,
19.
and if you look at page 3 of this, you can see the mixed funding, all of these last 4 things are mixed funding.
Yeah.
So there's the 150 that CDBG contributed in the 50,000 CPA did.
Yeah, see, they already have it like
Yeah.
plugged in, CPA.
Okay, this is for
That was for building 1.
Cheap, for one, so.
So you can commingle.
we
FF
need-
is
yeah,
what?
We need to get back into having these kinds of.
Assuming it's not
community-
French
Oh,
fries.
formula funding.
Formula.
Funding, that would be ADA compliant funding, formula funding, and she said some of it comes across as, like the ADA compliant, they're getting that money from a different pot of money. It's not coming from our already allocated money.
Yep.
So, exactly. She said, put in every project that we know of that we want done, and then that's how we tell them, because let me give you an example, I mean, and I need to have a clue on this. When we did building 1, all of the doors and all of the whole units were done, was,
Yeah.
Henry?
No, just the front doors.
Just of
No.
all of the front doors?
No, building 1, Henry.
That was,
Building 1, she said.
Oh, that's all.
No,
we've
what
done.
I said was, it wasn't just building 1 that got front doors, right?
no, but all the buildings had the
Right.
front doors.
Right.
Not the back.
Correct, so there's, in this money we're gonna have extra money because they're not gonna replace the doors that are replaced over in building 2.
Right.
They don't have to, so that gives us a little bit more money
Right.
to put
That's what we're talking about, the building,
the
the
stoops.
back doors being put in, which would have a light on the top of the doors in the other buildings, because where the back doors haven't been.
Yeah,
So
so,
because that's the back door that's in their bedrooms. But, so if we could, and I know time is of the essence, because these applications have to be in January. or so.
what they're looking for
In
today,
terms of the town,
Right.
the CP.
CPA has an application deadline of 1/28/2014.
Yeah, so that's,
We have a little bit more time with AD Makepeace application, and CETA, I'm not quite sure where we
yeah.
stand with what
So
funding,
if you could put down a
so.
preliminary, a bare bones, or
And
whatever.
CETA is on a December budget, aren't they?
Right, but they've already put in their application.
Yeah, we've already
So
done.
that ship has sailed.
Right,
Ship is
But
safe, so-
there are other monies that we could.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and
But
they
we'll
could
get to
change
that.
the grant too.
May I have a little discussion on something that we talked about, Cedar, Makepeace, and
CPA.
CPA? From my perspective, working in the community for so long, I mean, there are tentacles that reach out. And we're a central part now of this community. We're gonna be a central part of this community. I suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we have a workshop or a meeting with all the heads of these departments, including the selectmen,
Sure.
of exactly what we want to accomplish, get a cross component of all of them, put them on board so they'll know where
Yes,
we're going,
yes.
give them our
Great
plan.
idea, yeah.
I just want to suggest that if that's
No, that's
possible.
fine.
Right, I think that would be a
Fully
really-
supportive of that, but let us get.
Let's
No,
develop.
no, I'm just saying
develop-
futuristic.
Develop that
let's
program
develop
before we start.
the
to sell it.
list,
Yeah.
estimated price and cost, and then we
Yeah.
can get together with CETA, Selectmen, other departments.
Yeah,
and
that's
say,
all I'm
"Here's-
saying."
Here's what we wanna do, is bring us together. That's what we suggested at the Selectmen's meeting, and one of them kinda indicated, well, I wanna find more about it,
Yeah,
so
well, he'll be all right.
we gotta get that done.
But I think once they're done and we sit down with them and do a workshop or whatever here or wherever it is, and present what our goals are, and I think they'll have a better understanding. And togetherness, I think they may, and that's all.
And I'd also include, I'd like to see the time come when DHCD takes a greater interest in, and we can invite some of them down here to participate in some of the training workshops or whatever, because the little housing authorities are forgotten stepchildren. The big housing authorities across the state get 80% of the $70 million that's allocated every year.
Well, it's
for
time to
subsidies.
start squealing the
So,
wheels.
That's exactly
Right.
right, so
Right.
we
They actually-
we will become
Can I just
more,
interject?
more,
I'm sorry.
yes, we become more
Interject away.
advocate for all of that
I
sort of
want you to
stuff.
understand that in the DHCD, when I went in to the intelligence system which handles all their capital projects, it is clearly written in Agawam, I didn't go into Redwood, but in Agawam, buildings, they clearly described how poor shape. So when they were talking to me and I was like, you know, they understood because they saw it on their end too. We were in a conference together with these people and all of them, our screen, our thing was up on everybody's computer. So what I need actually today is we need to have, they need to know that you're okay with this project today. I understand we want to use future funds, but these two, how do I explain it? They have a 3-year plan, and the 3-year plan includes all of this money. So to change it now, to go back in to change it, so we would have to have a board vote pretty quickly. So can we, I mean, only because they need the board vote for this funding that's coming
Right,
up
so-
right now.
I'll
So
accept
can-
the motion to vote
They being DHCD?
DHCD.
So we can get this ball rolling.
Accept the motion
Okay.
from the board to accept the plan as presented. I don't know if this is DHCD's, whatever, but for capital CIP plan for 2013. That's how old this is. But
Correct.
it's-
We have funds that have not been
That
expended yet.
we accept the motion to accept the plan to expend any and all funds that have not been expended on behalf of the Wareham Housing Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, all in favor?
All right.
300. Unfortunately, again, I've commented,
We want
I
to,
hate to keep saying this, but it's unfortunate that DHCD, maybe all this stuff fell on deaf ears here in the past several years, but it's unfortunate that DHCD didn't find a way to bring this to a forefront and bring this to
I'm
a
gonna-
head in the past.
not in defense of them,
Yeah.
but as I've been here, and I've only been here 6 weeks, the need to provide housing, I don't believe we have a realistic vision of that. And so they're moving in a slow-moving bureaucratic situation, and that's why they,
I
we
understand.
rectified another problem that was in our thing, and I just know that, I agree
I
with
hear
you.
what you're saying, but from their past visits or past
Yep,
whatever.
lack of visits.
They developed a plan of what they noticed needed to be done here. And what happens is they get busy in their bureaucracy there and they pay attention to those that are active and people are aggressive and getting the work done.
They were,
And
and
because
we
there
now
wasn't
look-
anybody here
right.
that did
And let
that,
me tell you,
it fell through the cracks.
let me give you one example, and then I'll let everybody go, because I know it's getting
We
late.
got work to do. This is
Right.
still an agenda here.
Right. So, we have, I meant our residents, not you guys. But, one of the projects that was in there was a $3 million project that had been put in 2009, and the woman from DHCD said this is completely unrealistic for, 3 million. And they listed everything. And she said, but in the meantime, what you gotta understand, we've already taken chunks of this 3 million and worked on it. So this is unrealistic for you. You need to, she said, Jackie, go in here and get this out of here. So you can work on chunks of it and break it down over chunks of work. Because it
Well, I don't know
includes
what
every single thing. What it did was it was a comprehensive upgrade of Avalon,
Yeah.
but
I don't know-
interior only.
I don't know
so-
what she's talking about in terms of unrealistic.
No,
I feel like,
no,
let me
right,
just-
I know.
I'm
Getting that
telling you, I
money.
think on this property alone, with all of this stuff here, there's at least $3 million worth of stuff. And
Absolutely.
we haven't yet, and when you do your CPC and the Makepeace and this, we should look at the interiors of these units, because those things
Right.
are 65 years old also.
Right.
Asbestos floors,
Absolutely.
et cetera,
It was
et
in
cetera.
there. All
So,
of that,
What I'm
right.
saying is, there's
To
$2 million
acco-
worth of work here.
Absolutely. One, your pertinent word was aggressive. There was no aggressive work from 2009 on, and it was previous to 2009, because it was fiscal year '09, so it came in '08 and then '09. So there was no aggressive work done on that, no aggressive talking and complaining to DHCD that they knew, they were the ones that wrote this up, so they knew since 2008. Okay, so your first thing is aggressive. When I went in to look in DHCD, okay.
Time out. Tape must have run dry.
I know that's in there. Rudy, can you pass me that? Thank you.
Does that have to be signed?
It does have to be signed. We'll talk about it
All
later,
right.
yeah.
Is it-
We're returning to the temporarily recess meeting of the Wareham Board of Directors of the Housing Authority, December, January 22nd, 2014. Welcome back from the intermission. I think we concluded the administrator's report, voted on all matters that we think we needed to. We'll sign some other documents at the conclusion of the meeting. Next on the agenda is the Human Resource Committee report. Chairman Santos.
Thank you. On the January 21st, I believe it was yesterday, Wednesday? No,
Whatever day
whatever it was.
we were here.
Yeah, we had a meeting between Bob and myself. And the minutes will be provided, should one need them. I am the chairman of the Human Resources Committee at this particular time, and that's dealing with the personnel within the Housing Authority. One of the things we talked about, Jackie, was approving the rates for your shovelers, snow shovelers, snow workers, and your landscaping people that may come to work for you during the summer.
Yep.
We decided that the snow shovelers will get between $12 and $15 an hour
Great.
per your discretion.
Yeah,
And the landscapers will get between $10 and $12 per hour per your discretion. That was one issue that we resolved and we voted on, and we said, this is it, and we'll take a vote on the board afterwards. Also pertaining to you, I've got to say this very clearly, very succinctly, as myself and as the residents and the boss, and as Bill, that we give you nothing but kudos. We've seen what you have accomplished in less than 2 months. We've seen and we've heard that you've been out there shoveling snow.
Yes, she has.
And and I'm getting off the track as a professional, but I'm saying this as a human being, that we're so proud so far to have you here in your intelligence, what you bring to the administrator of this program,
thank you.
of this housing authority.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, enough of that. I don't want your head to get too big. What we decided was that we're going to increase your hours from 35?
Yep.
To 37 and a half hours. or was it 37? 37 and a
37 and a half,
half hours,
right.
which is an increase of 2.5 hours more a week.
Okay.
And we were also going to increase your pay by $1.12 an hour, okay, for the 37 and a half hours a
Great.
week.
That's
And
what-
if anybody cares to do the calculation, they can do that. We're not going to mention that.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay?
Great, thank you very
And
much.
we hope that that's somewhat of a reward for
It
good work.
absolutely has been a great, I feel, I don't have the words to describe. I actually love this job. I'm thankful that I have the board that I have behind us to help the residents and help us in Wareham be proud of our housing authority.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I turn the meeting over to you. If there's anything else to discuss on this.
Okay, I would add to that even though we recommend increasing the hours to 37 and a half, we know at the time that Ms. Hickey is working beyond the 37 and a half hours extra time. We would want her to continue to keep track of those hours so that at a future time we can recognize those hours. We understand that we're operating under constraints fiscally. We filed a budget, so we want to be in line with that budget and make appropriate adjustments as time goes on. Jackie has demonstrated to be a proven professional, hardworking, and shows great potential to be one of the top small housing administrators, not only in the region but in the Commonwealth. As long as she continues to follow my tutelage. You don't have to say anything. But I also would ask you, and if you haven't got it in your file, to be aware to, at least on a monthly basis, submit an invoice for the mileage that you do on behalf of the authority, including the mileage you do when you travel.
Yep.
So that we can compensate you for that. We don't want you to be out of pocket for too long.
I do have that, okay, yes, I do have that
Okay.
ready to go.
So with that, I could go on, but I lost my train of thought. But again, I commend you and compliment you and thank you for being here. And I think we have, with this team, I hope that we can continue to move forward, again, in the best interest of the residents of the authority and the residents of the town. And with that, I'll accept a motion to accept the recommendation of the Human Resource Committee for both items, both the seasonal help and the administrators' pay.
So moved.
Second discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 3-0-0.
Was it the hours, 32 to 37 and a half? 35 to 37 and a half?
Right,
And the pay, $1.25
$1.12 an hour.
$1.12.
More.
increase? Okay.
And, okay. Next item would be residents' participation. Unfortunately, I think they left, but I think their leaving is a sign that they were pleased with what they heard, and they have not any complaints as they have in the past. And with that, I'd ask Mr. Hernandez if he has any residence issues to transfer to us at this
No,
point.
what I want to say though, on the 5th of this coming month, I'm going to sit with an attorney that's going to represent
Oh, I
the
forgot.
tenants, okay? It's not involved with you guys, it's the tenants. Then, at the end of the day, after the meeting, if you guys want to come in to meet the lawyer or whatever, but it's strictly for the tenants. They're going to tell us, give us an update, and form a tenant organization. That's going to be part of it. So it's no effect against the
No, I understand.
commissioners.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
for the tenants.
That's what it's all about.
When is that, Henry?
That is the
February 5th.
February 5th?
February 5th. And why these people didn't have to wait is because we already I've already discussed it with them.
The residents?
Yes.
Yeah.
The ones that were here. I have to go to Redwood and try to explain to some of them there. I've got a couple there that I already told.
Yeah.
But
Well,
That's the
in
only
pre-
update.
in preparation for your meeting, I've asked you to compile your list of the complaints that you have had from previous.
yes, and I need some stuff from you people to present at that day.
I'll sit with you and give you what I have, and Jackie can give you a compiler's data that she has to date, so that we can provide that for them, and they can move forward in whatever action it might take regarding the interests of the tenants. I would indicate that I've also had communication from other authorities, and I haven't got back to them yet because it's been a busy past couple of days, but I will soon and set up a meeting in terms of seeing the extent that they want to get involved in the past problems that took place here.
And that meeting is with who, an attorney?
That's with the attorney, and
Okay.
it's back. I haven't had the complete information right now. I have a letter in the office that I'm supposed to pick up.
Yeah.
I
I
forget.
thought maybe you'd bring it to me today.
I'm sorry, I didn't,
Yeah,
Henry.
but it's strictly for the tenants.
It's legal representation for residents.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
Yeah.
Similar to what Chelsea Housing Authority tenants did when they had problems there. Okay, now, you said under the 48-hour thing, you got some issues? you
No, it
wanted-
was just this.
We took care of
Yeah,
that?
you took care of
All
that.
right, all right.
Yep.
All right, so with that, is there anything further to come
Just
before
one
this?
really quick thing that, I met with some tenants, in Redwood, and they have some money left over. One of them had gotten a gift check for Christmas from somebody, and they wanna have a Valentine's party, so I told them that I would help them, with a Valentine's party for February 13th, which is a Thursday, in Redwood from 2 to 4, and then we'll be having a St. Patrick's Day party in Agawam, and I haven't figured that date out yet, in March.
February 13th,
February 13th, yeah,
what time?
2 to 4
At Redwood?
at Redwood.
Very good.
We'll work out something for this one.
And the St. Patty's Day celebration will be
Date to be-
sometime in March.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, any other business to come before the board? I would indicate that the next meeting, subject to change, is the February 19th, 2014, at Redwood at 11 or 12, depending on future dissemination. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 300. The meeting is adjourned. The board will remain to sign whatever documents Jackie has to present to us for our signature.
This is Kim Gomez's letter for waiting list
Okay.
to.
Thank you to WCTV for attending our meeting. We look forward to future meetings at which you will televise.